This is Britton from Wage War, and you're listening to Rock Sound Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Rock Sound Podcast, the very first Rock Sound Podcast of 2018. We're back after the Christmas holidays. Hope you guys out there had an absolutely amazing time over the holidays. I'm Will Cross, junior editor at the magazine. Joining me as always, Tamsin Wills. How are you?
Hello, I'm good.
You're
I'm
back?
refreshed from the Christmas period. Had a very nice time. Ate a lot of cheese. Had a lot of Baileys.
Very nice. And Jack Rogers, hello.
All right, Will.
All right. Classic for good old Jack. How you doing?
Yeah, all right, yeah. Christmas is all right. It's been and gone, as always. One step closer to the grave, as they say. Festivities
nice
over.
morbid start.
Ho, ho,
Bloody
ho.
hell, what a start.
Happy New Year, though, everyone?
Right, yeah, Happy New Year, guys. Last normal podcast was December 15th. You can check that out on our SoundCloud right now and on iTunes, which was with the Madden Brothers from Good Charlotte. Absolutely incredible stuff. Exclusives from Dennis Stoff about what he's been up to, and also chatting to Patrick Miranda of Movements. Absolutely brilliant. We also had our special Christmas co-host featuring Patty Waters of As It Is, Raul Reynolds and Shikari, James Vett Galodi of Death Havana, and Bonnie Fraser of Stand Atlantic. Absolutely amazing. Included loads of exclusive, loads of fun chat about the 2017, their favourite songs, favourite albums, all that sort of stuff, and what's coming up for those bands in 2018. But now it's all about 2018. So we're going to kick off with something big. We've got a Black Veil Brides two-parter. Mr. Andy Biersack back on the podcast, and also joined by Christian Coma, drummer of Black Veil Brides, talk all about their return, their new album Vale, the time away, the fact it's been a long time for Black Veil Brides. You know, Andy's had his Andy Black stuff, so there's so much to talk about, and you know, the future of the band as well, like what that means for the future of Black Veil Brides going forward, and also the legend Winston McCall of Parkway Drive. Caught up with him just before Christmas to talk all about the new Parkway Drive album that's coming this year. Super mysterious, one of the most anticipated albums of 2018. Really good stuff. So stay tuned, strap in. Here we go. Times in the news.
Firstly, Dallin Weeks has parted ways with Panic at the Disco and will focus on I Don't Know How But They Found Me. As it is, I Prevail, Real Friends and more have confirmed that they will release new music in 2018. More on our website, head to rocksound.tv to read all about that. Lynn Gunn has hinted on Instagram that she's been working on brand new music. More on that as we get it. All Time Low will play So Wrong It's Right in full on their upcoming UK arena tour, and I am so excited about it because
Walking on heads.
I'm fairly sure a few podcast episodes ago I was demanding that happened, and they've listened. So you can thank me later.
Good lads.
Thanks, Tamsin.
Dashboard Confessional have released the video for new track We Fight. Zebrahead will play this year's Slam Dunk Festival. The Main are launching the 8123 podcast. I think we should do a collaboration there.
We totally should.
And finally then, Black Veil Brides have released a new song, The Last One.
Absolutely. So that brings us to interview one. Well, and interview two as well. Spearheading the start of the Rock Sound Podcast 2018. Double interview with Black Veil Brides. So we're kicking off with Andy Biersack back to the podcast to chat everything Black Veil Brides. You know, return to the band. New album Vale's out next week. Super interesting stuff. Super interesting story. An album that's quite fragmented, quite a long process. You know, we waited a long time for this record. Andy's been off doing Andy Black. And then, you know, we went into all sorts of stuff, really, you know, about lifestyle change for Andy, some quite heavy topics. And also, you know, living separately now as a band. You know, the guys are separate geographically and what that means for the band, what it means for Andy Black moving forward, and what it means for the future of Black Veil Brides. So super fascinating stuff. Here we go. Andy Biersack of Black Veil Brides. I guess to kick off then, I mean, we touched on it last time, but like Vale, it's been a long time coming. You recorded across a long period of time, several different locations. What was the reason for that? Why was the process kind of so unusual?
Well, so what started as pre-production sessions that began in December of 2015 kind of turned into a very quick let's get started. The problem was that let's get started on this record didn't really sync up with the schedule that our producer John had laid out for his year. So I had finished the Andy Black record, and I was kind of not really that ready to go out of the studio. I was having so much fun doing the Andy Black record. We'd written so much material. And towards the end of the Andy Black record, John and I started writing material for what we thought would be the Black Veil record. Songs like Dead Man Walking and what's now called Destiny. It's had a few different titles over the course of writing it, but no, I believe it's called Our Destiny on the record. That's where I landed. It's funny because when you write these songs, you come up with working titles, then you come up with different titles, and sometimes the titles that I say to other people or that end up on the set list are not consistent with the titles that I have written that are presented to the public. So with that, I believe that song is called Our Destiny. But those songs were written towards the end of the Andy Black process, and basically were just roadmaps that we gave to Jake and Jinx and said, hey, do your guitar magic on this and kind of add whatever elements you want. And so with that in mind, we said, okay, well, why don't we just have them come in here? And now we're going to end the Andy Black record cycle, of making this record. And we're going to begin the Black Veil cycle kind of all in a several week period. I think that we ended the Andy Black record at the end of November. By December 15th or something of 2015, we're full bore into the Black Veil record. Well, that was cool, but the problem that it presented was that we hadn't really accounted for the fact that, there's other schedules in the world other than me and Black Veil Bride. And so Feldy had to start working on the Blink-182 record, the first Blink-182 record that he did with them, kind of in the middle of that. So that presented an interesting kind of situation where we had already begun work on this Black Veil record, and we're all jazzed and excited to get it going. But really, we could have stood to have another couple months of writing before we started tracking, because we kind of just went all in. Okay, well, we've got this song, Outsider, and we've got a few things. Let's just start recording it. And we really did. Outsider was recorded. I mean, I really consider it the same sessions vocally as the Andy Black record, as the Shadow Side, because it was a matter of days. And that's really the way the initial vocal for a couple of the songs were recorded that way. The last one, a few other songs, I wound up re-recording the vocals because I felt like the vocals didn't really make sense. I know it's something that is kind of indulgent and silly sounding, but for me, there is a tone difference between the way that I sing in a heavier Black Veil Bride song and the way that I sing in an Andy Black song. I try to attack it differently. And I know probably for the casual listener, but they may not hear that. I think anybody who's a dedicated fan or has listened to my voice for many years can tell that I've tried to make a concerted effort to have a different tone, a little bit more anger and aggression in a Black Veil song than in an Andy Black song. So I wound up going back and re-recording a lot of that stuff that we recorded initially because it just didn't have that kind of power. But long story, even longer, we started recording and then basically got to the point where we had to step away. And that stepping away period led to a longer writing period where we really kind of developed what we thought the sound would be. And for me, that's when I really kicked into the high gear of saying, okay, I'd like there to be not necessarily a story, but some narrative to this album that ties everything together and that ties it together with the past. And for a Black Veil fan, is something that will make them kind of remember eras and times in the band's history that I think will be an enjoyable experience. I mean, one of the things that I've always loved the most about rock music is the pageantry and the kind of theatricality of it. And one of the things I've always appreciated the most was, obviously growing up, Kiss was my favorite band. As I got older, my favorite bands kind of switched. It was more bands like Alkaline Trio and AFI. And then by the time I was in high school, I wasn't a dedicated fan, but later really grew to appreciate and have a deep love and respect for a band like My Chemical Romance. And all of those bands that I just listed all had a really fun and interesting way of delivering stories and imagery to their audience that especially when I was younger, was just everything to me. And I didn't want to lose that. I feel like in many ways, and we've talked about it before, that there's elements of the fourth Black Veil Brides record that just feel kind of, not like they lacked effort, but just stilted in the sense that the goal was to not be as theatrical and over the top as previous efforts. And I feel like that made everything kind of suffer. So we wanted to be able to take time to do that. And so the reason it kind of took so long and in so many different locations was that I really wanted to be able to get together my plans for what the narrative would be. And also on the other side of the coin, the band guys wanted to really make sure that musically it was representing exactly where they wanted to go. And obviously with Jake co-producing the record, the guitars had to be a very specific and certain way. And I think that all of it really shines in the album.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I'm kind of on that sense as well. I mean, you've got Andy Black now. You've got, acting career with American Satan, hopefully more in the future with that as well. You've got your show. You've got so much going on as well as Black Veil Brides. What kind of brought you back out of the hiatus into Black Veil Brides again? What was it? Because you're not purely defined by Black Veil Brides anymore. You've got so much on your plate that's very successful. What brought you back to Black Veil Brides? What was it that you wanted out of this album?
It was never the intention to go away from the band entirely. I think that the idea was to try to establish other things that I've always wanted to do without dirtying the kind of whatever you want to, the brand, I hate the term, but, you know, whatever it is that the band is, whatever it represents. And you know, I think any term I could use, any descriptor right now is going to make me sound even more pretentious than I already do. But the legacy of the band, or whatever, you know, what artists describe as the thing that they most want to have represent them as they get older and as their music, you know, grows or doesn't grow or falls by the way. So whatever it is, the thing that they last want people to see about them. I didn't want that to become, you know, Black Veil, after like 5 records, started going into that weird new wave period because Andy got a hair up his ass and wanted to do it. Like, I didn't want that to be the case. So it really became, well, then I can just do something else. We've all been on tour for 150 years together. We definitely need a break. You know, not because there's any infighting, but because we all look like we're exhausted and unhealthy and need a little time. You know, you can't do every continent and every country for 9 months of the year. For 4 or 5 years without feeling like, hey, I'm going crazy. Maybe we should take some time off. And that really was the case by October, early November of 2015. You know, the end of September, I think, is when we ended the cycle. We did a few shows in October. There was no, oh my God, this is a sad moment where we all know we're going to go away. And inversely, there was no, you know, everybody leaving out different doors and angry at each other. It was just a very clear, like, okay, well, let's just take a minute and appreciate what we've built over the last nearly, you know, at that point, nearly decade. And just, you know, we've been fortunate. Let's take a minute to reboot. You know, for me, I wanted to do this thing. Everybody had different projects, whether it's Jake and his wife has a band, you know, and even outside of music, you know, Cece and Ashley both have things that they work on in their life that are non-music related. Jinx is scoring movies, and you know, there's always something going on in everybody's life. So it just felt like the time was needed. But through all of it, I think my plan was always to go, okay, well, the next Black Veil record, we're going to go back to Feldy. We're going to try to make something that feels as big and as fun and as kind of adventurous as Wretched and Divine did in 2012. And what does that sound like and what does that feel like? I guess we'll just have to find it later. So that was really always the intention.
Yeah, definitely. Because, yeah, so you went back to Feldy, you know, like you say, you did Wretched and Divine. Looking back on the self-titled you did with Bob Rock, like how do you mentioned it earlier, like how do you feel listening back to that album now? You know, are you still proud of it or were there things that you kind of wanted to change in hindsight? Like how do you feel about that album now?
Well, you know, it gets an unfair shake in my mind because of the time that it represents for me. I was very unwell at the time, didn't realize that what I had was a pretty severe injury that had gone untreated. And something that to this day, I do physical therapy on a regular basis. And most people know that I had broken my ribs, a couple years ago on stage and shattered kind of the 9, 10, 11 rib on, you know, in a very kind of classic video of me jumping off the stage and whatever else. And because I was a drunk idiot who was 19 years old, I never got it treated or anything. And I went on touring for years and years. And slowly started to lose feeling in my lower back and my legs and couldn't figure it out. And then went to all kinds of doctors. And I was basically just in excruciating pain for the entire year that record was around. And later finally was able to find through various sports medicine doctors and physical therapists that I had basically degenerating muscles on that side of my body that I was not treating. And so unfortunately, before I found that diagnosis, I was diagnosed with 180 other different things because doctors see pain and they see a difference in blood cells and they think, oh my God, there must be something going on. So they'll medicate you. And for me, I didn't need medication. I needed physical therapy. So all the while that was going on, that record was going on, I was taking various medications for them to try to kill what they thought was like a blood-borne bacteria or something like that because I had all this pain that they couldn't explain. And that led to, I was already drinking for most of my entire adult life, from my teenage years into my adult life I've always had anxiety and struggled with kind of just being too loud in my own head. And I guess I found, unknowingly, but I found the drinking quieted that down and made me feel like, made me feel like maybe some of my inhibitions were lowered. And so during the process of that year, I was at the height of my drinking and I was taking all this weird medication for something that I didn't actually need, and kind of losing my mind. And so most of that record was written, at least for me lyrically, was written drunk and mentally altered by these different medications. And it doesn't hold up to me. And it's not because I didn't try really hard. It's just that I think somebody else might enjoy it more than I do, because when I look back at it, I see what is essentially the worst time of my life, and why I am now sober, and why I now exercise every day, and why I had to make such a huge life change, and why I kind of got myself back. You don't get Andy Black and all this new stuff and all the stuff that you say, you know, people that I speak to go, oh my God, you're doing so much stuff. You don't get to that if it's not for kind of the depths of upset that I caused for myself in the fourth record. Now, having said all of that, working with Bob Rock was a complete joy. He was one of the sweetest, most interesting people I've ever met. And he really believed in me. And I think we did make a great record. I think that if I look at it objectively, it's a really enjoyable album that represents the band. We made it together. Everyone in the band was in the studio every single day. We did it, a lot of it in Canada. We had a great time. It's just, for me personally, I feel like I underachieved a bit, at least lyrically. Some of the lyrics feel a little bit like, I call it Black Veil Bride's Mad Libs, where I feel like some of the times, unknowingly, I was just taking stuff I had already written and rephrasing it and putting it into place to kind of build a song out. And that is, to me, that's kind of bullshit. You know, that's not art, and that's not something that the fans deserve. That, you know, I should work harder than that. But at the time, I was just I wasn't myself. And I think I missed a lot of opportunities to do some great stuff. But I think that we more than made up for it on this record.
Wow, yeah. Because going inside this album, I mean, I was going to go to the lyrics on this particular album as well. And I mean, you know, you were mentioning a narrative earlier, and it feels very personal, some of this stuff. I mean, you know, a song like When They Call My Name feels like a real moment. And there are lines in that song that feel very, very personal. Was that where you were coming from with that? Did you want to address things? You know, you're saying that you know, there's some very serious things going on in your life. Were the lyrics on this album the result of that and wanting to address those things?
Yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter is that a song like When They Call My Name is about my direct relationship with my wife and with the, you know, most specifically my wife, because she's my best friend and the person that I'm around the most. In a situation where, I mean, look, I don't want to get into like sobriety talk, but the truth is that when I wrote that song, I was just about 6 to 8 months into I had been off drinking for a while, but I had had a few, you know, relapses or whatever. And I was never a tragic drinker. I was never a get up in the morning and have booze because I have to. I was a drink anytime there was any social situation, black out and not know anything that occurred, and then hate myself drinker. You know what I mean? You know, how did I, you know, get to the point where I'm saying, okay, well, I'm going to go out with my buddies, and then the next day, you know, I'm fully in my hotel room with my leather jacket still on, feeling like complete shit and getting a terrible hangover. That wasn't good for me. And when you do that every single day, it takes a toll on your central nervous system. You know, I wasn't in a situation where I was, you know, that kind of thing where that kind of cartoon TV thing where it's, you know, the person is going to the school in like a, you know, a robe or something and like yelling at little kids. Like that wasn't me. It was a situation where I was unfortunately in the exact situation to be drunk all the time. I was in a heavy metal band surrounded by people that are giving you booze and telling you how great you are. There is no more appropriate and terrible place at the same time to be drunk all the time. And it just didn't work for me. So what happened was, as I kind of removed myself from that and I wasn't around it all the time, the truth of the feelings and the emotions and the anxiety that I've been chasing away for my entire adult life really started to come back about 6 to 8 months into my sobriety. All of a sudden, the shit that I hadn't felt in years was back. And these kind of, you know, not voices in my head, but these emotions and feelings and fears and all this stuff that I had been putting aside and saying, no, I'm Mr. Rockstar with the lipstick and mascara and the leather pants. It was coming at me when I'm sitting in sweatpants in my living room in my house, you know, and like, so that's the facade of the untouchable rock star starts to come down when you're in your quietest moments. And the truth is that I wanted desperately to remember and to feel all the things that made me feel good about myself, not tear down the idea of this rock star that you build yourself into, because that defeats the purpose of the message that I've been trying to send to our audience from the very beginning. You should always feel like you're an untouchable rock star, but you should always remember to be good to yourself and everyone else. the untouchable rock star's responsibility is not to be a dickhead to everybody. It's to give a shining example of the fun that you can have if you lead a life that follows dreams and understands consequence. I was at that point where I was writing about, I'm telling my wife all this stuff that I have felt for years that I'm not saying to anybody. And I need her, I need my friends, I need the people in my life to be there for me so I can get through this to the other side and write about these feelings so I can share them with the audience and make sure that hopefully I'm able to continue to inspire, particularly the younger audience that we have in their moments of darkness, and to understand that while I've never been someone who has self-harmed, I know that that's prevalent in youth culture, and I can't imagine that the feeling of inadequacy and anxiety is too different. And I wanted people to know that I have felt those things, but I also don't dwell in them, and it's important to rise out of them.
Well, yeah, because going off that, I mean, like, you know, songs like The Last One and the title track, especially, there's a sense of finality to the lyrics as well. So was that you kind of going at those things like, you know, giving up the drinking and kind of remembering to be good to yourself and kind of bring all these more positive feelings up to the surface? And was that you kind of going, you know, I'm not going to be in this rut anymore. I'm gonna break out of it. Is that where those songs were coming from?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to tell you a story, and this is not to brag about how virtuous I am, but rather to kind of exemplify how kind of lost you can get. And it's just small little things. When we first started in Hollywood and we were all broke, we would go to the liquor store around the corner from our crappy apartment, and I would buy a bottle of booze. And if there was a homeless guy outside, I would always stay and have a chat with him and give him whatever spare change I had. Now, I had no money in the world, but I was at a point where I had so much joy about the prospect of life that I wanted to share that with other people. Oh my God, I'm fucking 19 and I got cool hair and I'm in a rock band and, you know, girls want to talk to me and oh my God, this is such a cool thing. I was a kid from Ohio who was essentially a loner, who didn't have anything like that. You know, I had an arrested development when it came to being an adult, and all of a sudden all these exciting things are happening and I'm fucking cool for the first time. So I wanted to share that. As time and life progressed, the last thing I wanted was not necessarily to not talk to a homeless guy, but to ever make eye contact with anybody or to talk to anybody. Towards the height of kind of first wave of Black Veil Bride success, by the time I'd get home from tours, the idea of leaving my couch was almost too much to bear. And I kind of lost that joy and that feeling. And it took over this kind of feeling of almost like this agoraphobic, like I need to stay contained. And then if I want to get outside of this bubble, I have to be completely piss drunk to make contact with anybody else. The only way I can talk to anybody is if I'm completely drunk. And as I was writing this record and kind of coming back to myself when it came to just the lyrics and the elements that I wrote on the album, it became really clear to me that I noticed myself doing little things that made me feel like a human again. Wanting to stay in chat with the teller at the bank that extra minute about their day, wanting to make eye contact with everybody around me, not feeling embarrassed or ashamed of just being. And that to me kind of started the road of like, well, maybe I've shed all that shit that was on top of me. Maybe that monkey that was on my back, I've thrown him off. And if that's the case, then I need to say bye to all that stuff in an appropriate way. And so I've said it before, but Vale is several different terms, but it's Vale, obviously. But it's also a written or spoken goodbye in like the most basic form of Latin, which is be well, be strong, which is to say goodbye, hello. And so that is what the record represents to me. It is saying goodbye to the negative and upsetting elements of your life, your friendships, the people around you. I mean, look, it's an unrelatable and stupid problem to talk about. Oh my God, I was at least marginally famous and people wanted to say nice things to me. And oh my God, I know it doesn't sound realistic, but the truth is that sycophants and people that don't want something good for you exist in everybody's life. Whether you're 14 years old and in school or you're 45 years old and work, there is someone who looks at you and wants something from you and will try to manipulate a situation to make you get off your guard and do something stupid or not something that you feel is true to you. And that's a lot of what the record is speaking about, is being constantly aware of the fact that you are the only person who can really handle yourself and don't let other people manipulate or upset you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, no, you can definitely hear that. And I mean, how are you feeling now? Do you feel that, are there a lot of nerves? In fact, you know, you've taken some time away from the band, and like, do you feel that, you know, coming back together and then with all these new songs, do you feel confident in that, you know, you go out on the road with Ask Alexandra, and that, do you just feel confident in how, you know, it's going to be a very natural process? Or are there nerves of that? You know, are there nerves about fitting back into the Black Vale mold together?
I think one of the cool things is going to be just being in a room together again. You know, it's going to be 2014 was really the last time that we stood in a rehearsal space and rehearsed together and thought about what we were going to play, figured out everything else. You know, it's getting more and more real every day. I'm going to be back with these guys that, you know, I've spent my entire adult life with, and we're going to share in this experience together. And it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, being 1/5 member of a band is a pretty cool thing. You get to share all this stuff with people that have basically lived the same moments as you professionally for years and years. You know, it's a double-edged sword with a band, because you might say to me, hey, what happened to you yesterday? And you and I might have different stories of what we went through yesterday, and that might keep our friendship interesting. You know, we might be able to have a conversation for a long period of time because our experiences are vastly different. When you're in a band, that is not the case. When you're in a band, everything that happens to the guy that's on your left also happens to you. So what do you talk about? Hey, I was on the plane yesterday, and this thing, I know, I was on the plane too. We're always on the same plane. We're in the same vehicle every day. We're in the same venue. We eat the same things. We're at the same hotel. Everything we do is the same. There's nothing to talk about. So now that we've had these years apart and time apart, we're going to have fucking plenty to talk about. You know, it's like going to be a family reunion.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I was going to ask about that actually, because we haven't seen any music videos from you guys yet on the new album, but it sounds like the plans are very much in motion for that. Yeah. Has that literally purely been because of geographical reasons?
Yeah, I mean, it's just harder to get everybody together now. You know, people live in different cities and different places, and people have different lives. You know, it used to be that everybody was waiting all year round to get their schedule to do a Black Veil thing, and it's not to say that this isn't everybody's priority. But when it comes to getting people scheduled, you know, we really have to do it in advance. And we're working with a new production team and some people that we haven't worked with before on the music video side. And it's just, you know, we kind of wanted to go in an entirely different direction. With this record, we've really been I've always been so, everything has to be a certain way and everything needs to be this exact way. And I've really felt that maybe, you know, with this time around, maybe it might be nice to bring in some other people and outside people who can not necessarily take away from the vision that I've laid down, but maybe add things and help out and really see where it can be taken. Because if I've learned one thing over the course of my career, and especially in the last 2 years, there's a real beauty and joy in collaborating and delegating as opposed to just obsessing by yourself. So because of that, the timeline has kind of been changed a bit, but we will have a video out before the record is out. And I think that, you know, in this day and age, we've had all these conversations. Well, do we need to get it out by Thanksgiving? Do we need to get it out whenever? By the way, Thanksgiving, American holiday. And we've talked about this before, the differences between our lands. But do we want to get it out now, or what's the plan? And then we really just thought, well, the day and age that we live in, it's not going to go on MTV. We don't need to advance an album with a music video. Why don't we just do something awesome, take our time with it, and put it out when it's done, which will likely be, you know, soon before the album is out. So that's really the way we're looking at it. And we want something that's going to be representative of the record, also something that represents the stage show. And that's all taken time to put together because, you know, one of the unfortunate parts of making a music video sometimes is you do it so far in advance of the album coming out that by the time the album comes out, you see the album differently, you know, and the video really paints the picture for how people see the record. So, you know, we've had some great videos, and obviously we've worked with Patrick Fogarty for years and years, and I will continue to work with him. But for this one, you know, we were just kind of like, well, maybe we just get into a different world where we see what does Black Veil look like through a different lens than just the kind of story that we've always built. And I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, very cool. No, it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, just to finish up then, you know, obviously, like I say, you're hard at work on the Andy Black album. The BVB stuff's done there. All that's happening with all the live stuff and all this amazing kind of production that's coming up. Like, what's the plan going into 2018 with the two projects? Is it going to be kind of an equal split, or are you just going to see how things go? Like, what's the plan with that?
Well, I've completed my kind of first run at the Andy Black record. The plan was always to go to the beginning of December and then stop production because I don't want it to ever interfere with any of the Black Veil Bride stuff. At this point now, I shift my focus 100% to Black Veil, to the tour, to the release of the record, to all that stuff. And, moving forward, that's my focus. Now, I got about 13 or 14 songs recorded. In my opinion, about 9 or 10 of which are ready to go on an album, just need to be mixed and ready to go. Some of them could use some tweaks, and I'll probably continue to write. But that writing won't kick back off until probably around the spring of 2018. And I can anticipate that the Andy Black record would probably come out towards the end of 2018 or first quarter of 2019.
So, so the two are going to be very separate then, by the sounds of it, that, you've very much pre-planned that the two things are going to get equal footing, essentially. Because, with The Shadow Side was very successful. And, with the second album, theoretically, were that to be even more successful and to require a lot more of your time, how would that affect Black Veil Brides?
Well, look, this is a difficult thing to say because I know that I'll be misunderstood, and I know that fans listening to this will think that I'm trying to say, they'll read more into it than I think that they should. But I will say that I don't think that we live in a world where Black Veil Brides will ever tour as consistently, as constantly, and as tirelessly as we did when we were younger. I don't think that it's practical, and I don't think any of us are in that place. And I also don't think it's fair to the fans. You can only roll through the same, Sacramento 8 times a year for so long before eventually you're going to wear out your welcome. And not only are you tired, but people are tired of seeing you. And the set list is essentially the same, and you can't do much new. And we really want to deliver, whatever our career is moving forward, we want to deliver things that are fun and interesting and exciting to the audience. And that might mean waiting a bit longer between cycles. I don't think that we're in a place in our career where we want to get back on the horse and put out 2 records a year, 10 years into our career. I just think that it's very unlikely that I think that while, yes, this is a uniquely long period of time for this album, and that may not be the case moving forward, I do think that a fan of the band can anticipate that we will take more time with the record cycles and try to stretch them out over a longer period of time and play shows when we can. Not consistent, constant touring, but rather kind of like show. And that the records will be, in my opinion, will improve because of it. Because we're not going to be in a position where somebody's cracking the whip and saying, you got to get this record out right now. What's Black Veil Brides all about? Do it right now. We'll be able to make things that I think are more artistically fulfilling and hopefully better for the fans. And if someone is a fan of the 5th Black Veil record, then they will understand and appreciate that this record took longer than others for a reason. And that's kind of what we think we'll end up doing moving forward. And because of that, they won't really be a conflict for me and Black Veil, and Andy Black, or Jake with Alonia, or Jinx with his movie scoring, or whatever it is. Obviously Jake, my lead guitar player, has a band with his wife. There's no conflict there because there will be time for it. We're in a position where Black Veil is the most important thing musically in our life, but also it allows for us to do other things. And we don't want to suffocate Black Veil Brides over the course of our career and go, we have to constantly release things all the time. I really think that letting it breathe and being a bit more of an organic thing, I think moving forward will be kind of the way it goes.
Awesome stuff. So that was Andy. We're now going to talk to Christian Coma for more insights into the band's time away in the future. Here we go. Christian Coma, Black Veil Brides. Talking of the self-titled, how do you feel about the album on reflection now? Because Andy was saying that, he's still proud of it, but it was quite a tough time for him from a kind of personal standpoint. How was it for you, looking back?
I actually had a blast doing that. I recorded drums in North Hollywood, California, and with Bob and the team. And then for guitars and vocals, he moved us out of the U.S. to Vancouver, Canada, for about a month. And I came along, to do background vocals and give my input and stuff. And I was already finished with the drum parts when we went to Vancouver. So I was kind of just on vacation, to be honest, and, helping out, going to the studio every day. But it was a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed working with Bob. His stories about the history, he's such an iconic producer. And so his stories about, some of his previous acts he's worked with were just incredible and life-changing. And, getting the inside scoop on some of my heroes was interesting. But like I said, every production team works a little bit differently. And so, this one was a bit more focused. I guess I had I had more fun and kind of, you know, I don't even know how to say it. I guess I wasn't as focused the last record, and, you know, I'd be going out and making friends in Canada and going to dinners and stuff. And this one was kind of like, all right, we got to get this record done. Not that there was any rush or anything. It was just more focused. You know, this is what we have to do. Let's get it done. And it was like kind of like a no funny business recording process, for me at least.
You know, obviously having that time away, you know, and like, because this has been the longest between Black Vale albums. And I mean, how was that for you? Because obviously, you know, Andy had his Andy Black thing, and, you know, you guys were all kind of doing different things. How's that period been for you? Has it been quite nice in that you've been able to pursue other passions as well?
You know, it was nice. It's always nice to take a breather. I mean, we've been going at it for, man, I don't know, 10 years, you know, pretty hardcore. The break was a little bit longer than I expected and or wanted it to be, but I mean, what are you gonna do? You know, everyone's kind of doing their own thing. It was really refreshing too. I had a hand injury at the end of the last tour, so I had some tendonitis on my left hand, and so to give my hand some time to rest and everything, it was, you know, really beneficial physically for me to have such an extended break. But I think, you know, I definitely missed, you know, performing for the fans and, you know, traveling the world and the excitement of all of it. You know, it kind of got a little boring over here, but definitely ready to go back out on the road and, you know, see everybody all over again.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, you know, going back into the Black Vale mold now, you know, especially with these new tracks and that sort of thing, like, how are you feeling about it? Is it just pure excitement for you, or are there some nerves there, or how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, you know, it's with such an extended break, there was a little bit of nerves, like, oh man, I don't know if I could still do it, you know, because I watched videos, you know, of myself back. That sounds really conceited, not like I do that, but, you know, just watch videos to be like, oh, how do I play this particular part, or, you know, what do I do for here? And it's like, man, I don't know if I could do that. Look at how much energy I have. But, you know, getting the kit set back up and rehearsing, I mean, you know, it's everyone says it's like riding a bike, and it kind of is. You know, it kind of took over. A lot of muscle memory came back, and like, oh yeah, that's how I do this. That's how I do that. And so I'm kind of just excited. And the funny thing is, no matter how much I rehearse by myself or with the guys, it's 100% will always be different performing for people. You know, like the energy I put into playing the drums, I don't know if I hit harder with my adrenaline or whatever. I could practice for a year straight, and as soon as I go on tour, I will like be dying the first show and like completely exhausted. My muscles are like so swollen and, you know, fatigued and stuff. And so it doesn't matter how much I practice, you know, performing for the fans is always, you know, a completely different experience. And it's on so many different levels. It's really therapeutic in ways. And I'm really looking forward to doing that again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, because Andy was saying as well that, you know, it was something that he's really, really looking forward to about going back out on the road, you know, as a band and everything, is that he can't wait for you guys to, you know, literally physically get back together and be back in that rehearsal space and that sort of thing. Have you really missed that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone's kind of done their thing. You know, I think Jake got married in the meantime. I think it was while we've been off, and you know, everyone has their girls, and everyone's kind of gone their separate ways. And it's not like there's a falling out, and we got in an argument or anything. And I know there's been so many rumors, you know, among the fan base, you know, oh, BVB's breaking up and this and that, and look at what this person wrote. You know, they're definitely breaking up. You know, they're coming up with their own conspiracy theories, which is actually kind of fun for me to read. But I mean, everyone's just kind of grown up a little bit, you know, and you know, Andy's like sober and completely, you know, he's got super healthy and he's vegan now. And, you know, it's just a different era from when we were young and reckless and, you know, throwing things out of the windows and stuff. And not to say, I don't know. I mean, who knows? We might be doing that again, you know, when it comes on tour. But everyone's kind of grown up a little bit and calmed down. And so I think at this point in our career, we all know what it's like to tour. You know, we all have wives and girlfriends and, you know, stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's definitely going to be fun. Just the guys to get together. You know, I've ran it. I don't think all five of us have been, in a room together since we did the record, you know, and there was just a few days that we were all together. And so it'll be very nice. You know, I'm excited for it, you know, to have all five of us together on a touring environment, you know, again, and catch up with all the dudes.
Yeah, definitely. No, it sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, like in terms of that as well, you know, not being in a kind of rehearsal space together for quite a while and that sort of thing. I mean, has that been hard at any point? You know, because, you know, obviously it sounds like you can't wait to get back out on the road and that sort of thing. Like, has it been quite difficult at points? You know, have you been kind of, you know, itching to get back out there? And, you know, has that ever got frustrating, or has it just been nice being able to focus on yourself?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, I'll go, like, the other day I went to a show. It was like I Prevail. And I had a bunch of friends playing. Like, we came as Romans, friends with those dudes, Escape the Fate, friends with those dudes, The Word Alive, I'm friends with those dudes. And it was kind of frustrating just being like, oh my God, like these guys, it's been so long, and I'm just like looking at them, and there's a little bit of envy, to be honest, that they were on stage. And it's like, man, we've done so much touring and stuff that, it's been so long. I felt like there was kind of something lacking in my life, and it was, performing for people and meeting the fans. I mean, I love seeing people's faces light up, and, just the fact that I could take a picture or give them a hug or something and make their day. I mean, there's no better feeling than that. So, I mean, I guess I kind of missed that aspect of it. However, it was nice, like I was saying, to have some time off and spend some time with family and my girlfriend and stuff. But, I definitely miss it, and there were some times, like I said, when I'd go to shows and I would be kind of envious, and, I'd almost leave, a little depressed and kind of being like, damn, like, can't wait to get out. And, it's not like it was like that the whole break, it's been a little bit over 2 years now, but there were certain points where it hit me a little bit harder, and I was definitely missing the touring aspects of being a musician.
Going into 2018, obviously with the tour with Asking coming up and everything, is that very much the plan then? It's just kind of all kind of clicking into gear now, and you guys are getting back together, and it's all kind of full pelt ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've been talking about it, and it's kind of like overnight, it's like, boom, all right, we're back in Black Veil mode. And I haven't stopped. Like, I was sending emails at like 1 this morning, and it's kind of nonstop. I've been on the phone with my new drum tech, and it feels good to be working again. It's kind of funny. When I first met my girlfriend, I was, I had a lot of time off, and she's just kind of like, okay, like, trust me, like, I'll be busy soon. And, she was going to acting school. And so since then, we've kind of reversed roles, because she graduated and she has like a bunch of auditions and stuff. And now I'm like super busy, where I'm like, not now, I got stuff to do. And so it's kind of funny how the roles reversed, in my personal life. But yeah, it definitely has switched into Black Veil mode, and we're like all systems go. And, we have rehearsals coming up, and then we're off to the races. We're out with Asking, and then till March. So definitely looking forward to everything. I'm really excited, especially touring with those guys. Those guys are a wild bunch. It's been a long time coming, touring with those guys, and I've hung out with them on plenty of occasions. We're all good friends, and so looking forward to sharing the stage with them and causing a ruckus all over the world.
Yeah, no, I actually spoke to Danny and Ben about that. Yeah, no, it's super exciting. I can't wait. And I guess then just to kind of finish up then, it all sounds really positive and everything. I mean, like Andy was saying that, in terms of how Black Veil operates now, there's much more kind of planning behind the band. It's all very much, because with everyone kind of being in different places geographically and kind of doing their own thing, as well as the band, while the band's the main priority, there's a lot of kind of planning there and kind of scheduling and that sort of thing. How is that for you in terms of being different to that kind of relentless nature that the band used to have in terms of the live touring and everything, in terms of it was, literally touring for 9-10 months of the year. And now it's kind of much more about planning and not letting the band suffocate everyone, and kind of doing it in a way that's going to make everyone really happy. How do you feel about that? What's kind of your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the older we get, not that anyone's really sick of touring or anything like that, but I think having some time off and planning things and being smarter, but it's the whole mentality, work smarter, not harder. And, where we could make tours and not spend 10 months out of the year, constantly touring. We could just always perpetually be on tour if we wanted to. But I think having some time off at home and, giving everybody a little bit of space and breathing room is really healthy for a group, especially when we've had 9 or 10 years together, in a bus and doing all this stuff. And, it's not that we get in any arguments or fights or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's just kind of, everyone has their life at home, and it's kind of nice to just kind of, relax. Like, I have family. I spend a lot of time with my family and stuff, and, my girlfriend and dogs and everything, and everyone has their own thing. And Andy has a lot of his personal things where, he has his own podcast, and he has, he was in that movie. And so he's got a lot of things going on. And so I think at this point, it's kind of just keeping the guys happy makes everybody more productive, and, Jake with his wife and Jinx with his girl and everything. I think keeping the dudes happy, and we're at the point where I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I don't think being 10 being out for 10 months is, something that we couldn't wait for like we used to in the past. And, nothing against the fans. Like we love seeing the fans and everything, but every once in a while it's good just to get your feet underneath you and not lose sight, and get tunnel vision where you're just perpetually on the road and there's no end in sight. And so I think, having some time off and us getting grounded again, it'll give the fans a better experience because we'll be more enjoyable to watch and we won't be, zombified, so to speak. The zombies on the stage, like, oh, another show, this and that. We'll actually be in, we'll be into doing it, and we'll be a little bit more passionate about playing, and doing stuff like that. Like, I feel like right now my batteries are completely recharged, and when we have a tour and we'll have like a week or 2 weeks off and go right back into it, I'm kind of like, oh man, all right, we're just back in tour mode, and it never ends. Like a 2-week break, it goes by like this, so quick. And having an extended period, like I'm ready to go, and I've had such a long break that I know that the next shows and the next tour, I'm going to be giving it my all since I've had so much time off. And in my head, I'm going to be thinking about having so much time off and not being able to do it for so long, and to appreciate being on stage and appreciate all the fans being there to watch the band and everything. And so I think it'll make my performances a little bit better.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, really, really interesting. As I say, super, super fascinating story with that band. Loads going on. And I think it's been quite unclear for a while, what's actually going to be going on with the band as we move into the future, and with Vale now, it's kind of set some things straight. So, Tamsin, what do you take away from it first?
I mean, I think as both of them said, the break, although it was long, that it was very much needed for the band, for themselves as individuals. It allowed them to go off and focus. Andy went and did his solo stuff, and everyone kind of just got to just restore themselves a bit. And I think as music fans in general, all of us are kind of too quick to be like, I want a new album from this band now, immediately. We need new music, which I get. When you love a band that much, you just want constantly to hear all the new stuff. But I think people kind of forget that bands are humans, and as Andy kind of went into in-depth conversations about, when you're just drinking every night, hungover every day, in a van with the same dudes over and over again for months, it can really take a toll on you. And you do get to a point where you're just like, I need a break. And it's very, very important for bands to take that break and look after themselves so that they can come back and, create what is possibly their best stuff ever. So fair play to them to actually being like, no, we're going to take 2 years off. We're going to just focus on other things, because otherwise they're just going to end up hating each other and breaking up, and nobody wants that. Yeah. So, I mean, shout out those guys. It sounds like 2018 is going to be huge, and that tour with Asking Alexandra is going to blow the roof off every venue ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I love it. Andy's always such a candid, guy to talk to, and very honest, and I think, it really says a lot, kind of what you're saying, that he's had these lifestyle changes and had to kind of face up some quite difficult things. And I think maybe, if you'd let a band suffocate you were touring, doing the same venues 4 or 5 times a year, like he said, maybe you wouldn't be able to do that, and that would have wrecked things, So I think that's awesome they've done that. Jack?
Yeah. It's really interesting because when there's 5 members of a band who are all doing separate things, it's like each thing of that kind of leaks out separately and kind of go, oh, so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so's doing this. But when you hear it all together, like when Andy and Cece are like reeling off, well, Jake's doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this, it's like, actually, yeah, even though your time away from this has been like how long is it since the self-titled? 3 years, 4 years now?
Yeah.
Like, in that 4 years, it's not like anyone's just been sat twiddling their thumbs. They've all been doing something. And it's like, even me, I can't... In real life, you can't stand being with the same people for, like for me, I haven't found anyone I can spend more than, like, a week with or so. So, like, you do need that time away to, like, just realise what your goals are. And I feel as though when you hear it from the band, when it's, like, this honest and open about where they've been and what they've been doing and why it's taken this long to do another Black Veil album, it kind of like, it's a bit of a palate cleanser. Like, I hope it's that people understand it. But the biggest thing for me was because Andy's been very honest with us a lot about his newfound sobriety, And the biggest thing was when he was talking about When They Come For Me. And he said you should always feel like an untouchable rock star, but without actually pushing yourself to that limit. And I feel as though that's interesting, like what Tamsin said about in like doing the drinking and stuff, that you do forget that these people are human as well, and that they do have limits. Like you don't. It's the same as he was talking about what he learned from American Satan and what he was pushing into that. Like it's all coming full circle, and it just makes sense now. Like when there's silence from a band, it's pretty easy to get on the back about where they've been and what they've been doing. But when it all comes out, you go, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, it's nice that, being able to speak to both of them. They kind of, like I say, kind of set that record straight in a way, and kind of said, no, we've just, life moves on, life changes, and we've got a bunch of things now that we have to focus on. But Black Veil now is very much the focus,
because like it's the same as like normal gossip columns. Like you see it on the front of like tabloid newspapers. It's like, oh, they've been seen separately. They're not spending every living moment together. It's like, well, why would they? Like, what? Why the hell would they? When they're not on tour doing anything, it's not like they're a show on Nickelodeon where they're not Big Time Rush. They don't have to spend every waking minute together.
I mean, to be fair, like, love you guys dearly, but if I spent 2 months in a van on the road with you, I would want to be away from you.
That would probably go horribly wrong. Yeah.
God, it's just like, I mean, I've been on tour, and it's just like, it's brutal because you are going every day and you see the same people and you run out of things to say. And like, if that silence goes from being comfortable to awkward, it's hard to bring it back round. So like, fair play to them for being that honest about like, well, we don't want this band to just fade into nothingness because we care about it so much.
Yeah, love it. Brilliant. Loads of honesty, both guys, what we absolutely love. Just great to have them on. And yeah, Vale's out next Friday. Pick it up. And can't wait for the shows with Asking. Going to be sick. So, Jack.
List of questions 2018. Yep. New year, same nonsense. So.
I thought that was the name of like the username you were reading out there. And then I was like, wow.
Yeah. No, just the
your
slogan.
Life motto.
Yeah. So M with some pens has asked us, what upcoming band do you think will have the best 2018? I think that's an interesting one because there's so many bands to pick from. We've spoken about so many, but one which I've been talking about them a bit today, and I think that Homebound will have an excellent 2018. Because I was talking earlier about like who, aside from neck deep in the UK pop punk crop, is next to like blow up big. And Homebound released a new song at the end of last year called Bound to Be, and listening back to it, they feel like the most genuine of the crop at the minute, and the ones who are sticking to the sound but putting their own spin on it. And if they bring out an album which like gets the right way, I reckon they're going to be huge. I've got to say the same about my boys Milestones as well. Like, they've been teasing a new album soon. Hopefully we'll get it very soon. And after the year they had last year, I feel as though they could light up 2018. So
great shouts. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give a shout to Chase Atlantic, obviously, who we've banged on about in this podcast a lot in the past few months. I think they're going to go pretty big this year. Also, a little band called The Fame, who have been doing some very interesting things. Look out for them in coming issues of Rock Sound. And but I think like my number one actually is going to be. I literally just got off the phone with Henry from Boston Manor. Literally
Love
about half an hour
Henry.
ago. Yeah,
Such a nice guy.
He's such a nice guy.
Shout
and
out Henry.
you know what? Like chatting about Boston Manor's upcoming new album, which is coming this year. Like I'm super excited. It sounds like they've been so open about how they've approached it, and it doesn't feel like they've boxed themselves in at all. It just sounds like they've had such a blast writing it, and I think they'll piecing it together, and I think that's always the biggest indication that something is going to be mega. So I'm going to go Boston Manor and listen out to a future Rock Sound podcast episode for that chat.
Strong shout.
Ooh, teasing.
I'm going to go with Grayscale.
Nice.
Because they had a pretty big 2017 as it was. But they're coming over to the UK. They're going to be touring loads. That record is great. And I just think there's I'm very much in this sort of love-hate relationship with pop punk at the moment. There's bands I'm not liking, but bands I'm absolutely loving as well, and Grayscale are one of them, and I think they've just got so much to give, and their sound is like it's not completely generic. I think they're doing something a little bit different. It's really fun but emotional at the same time, and that's everything that I like. I'm really looking forward to seeing Grayscale live, and I also think we should give a shout out to the band that we talk about every single week, which is Stand Atlantic.
Of course.
But I mean, like, everyone knows that already.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows that already.
So they were going to be my pick, but it was just like, everyone knows it. So.
Lauren on Twitter asked us what the first band we ever saw live was. Well, mine was My Chemical Romance on the Black Parade tour, if we're not counting the 3 times I saw Westlife before that.
We definitely are.
Well, we are. I could talk about...
I was going to say, like, I've got 2 different answers, and it's whether we're including the pop acts you saw when you were, like, 5.
Well, I mean, like, shout out Westlife. Like, so
big
much. Like, when they fly, I'm flying without wings. Oh, my God. But, yeah, MCR on the Black Parade tour... Like, Thursday supported. I'm pretty sure I've spoken about it before.
I think it was one of your favourite shows.
Yeah, like, it was just the Black Parade in full. The minute Gerard was wheeled out on a stretcher, like, and then got out of his hotel gown into his drummer boy suit, like, just the fire, the atmosphere, the passion of it. And then, like, the way that they brought the theatre to it, that they were the Black Parade, and they were, like... a lot more snidey than MCR usually are, like quite aggressive in it, and people just ate it up, and then they went, right, we're off, and then they came out as MCR and played loads of 3 Cheers songs. Like, it was just ridiculous, like everything about it, and just like, it was just, I think it was a benchmark for, like, it just showed that even 10 years ago, like, and even now, I can't think of a show which hit me as hard how special they actually were.
So sick. Yeah, mine was Reading 2002, actually. Slipknot, namely, 3rd headliners, absolutely amazing. It was on Iowa, and just like, if you were lucky enough to see the band back in the day on those first 2 albums, like, it was just insane. You know, like, as soon as they came on, you know, Clown, Corey were just straight down to the crowd. Joey at the end was throwing his drumsticks all over the place. Like, the Clown was walking up and down the crowd with his middle finger up. It was just absolutely insane. And as you know, a 10-year-old, that was pretty.
This was around the time when they used to inhale the crow as well, and like throw up on each other or whatever it was.
Look it up. Maybe we won't describe what that is, but yeah, look it up. It's well documented. Just absolutely insane. I mean, you know, there was a bottle fight in the crowd. It was like plastic balls. It was just insane. I mean, also saw, you know, 100 Reasons. Check them out if you don't know who they are. Incubus, Puddle and Mud, like absolutely amazing back in the day bands, and Prodigy and the Offspring headline. So all in all, just pretty life changing, basically.
Right. So. If we're talking like the first group I ever saw live, then it has to be All Saints.
Oh,
yeah, that's sick.
Sick choice.
That generally was like my first ever live show. I went with my neighbour. I think we had to leave before the end because the girl that I went with fell asleep. But generally not because it was boring, but because it was way past our bedtime.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, I think the first like actual band I saw and was at the front for and had like sang along to every word is a band called Feeder.
Oh man, yeah.
If you don't know who Feeder are, they're about to celebrate their 10-year anniversary of like one of their albums. Genuinely, I am so excited because might even do a crowd surf.
I think even if people don't know the name Feeder, they'll know the song.
Yeah, if you like, just search for Just a Day or Buck Rogers on YouTube and you will know the songs instantly. Like, they come on at like every alternative nightclub, everyone knows the words to them, and like I feel like they were kind of like indie rock, I guess. They were one of the first bands that kind of actually got me into like proper rock and guitars and things. And like, they just churned out bangers for like 15 years.
And finally, Shane Kennedy 04 has asked the album that you're most excited for in 2018, 21 Pilots.
Architects.
State Champs.
Big. Cheers, lads.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. So, we have a brand new issue on sale. We had our awards issue last month, which was a massive success, absolutely amazing. All you guys out there seeing picking your favourite covers was absolutely incredible. But now, in what's hugely exciting to be able to start 2018 with, we're very proud to give Palais Royale, the band on everybody's lips right now, their first ever magazine cover as a band. Most exciting band of 2018. We haven't seen a demand for a band like this in quite some time. Podcast questions to tweets we put out over the past 6 months. Palais Royale just everywhere. The Royal Council, like you guys are just everywhere, you know, pushing this band. We saw the band back in November. It was absolutely insane at their debut UK show. Like, it was just crazy. So to be able to do this is super, super exciting. A real phenomenon in the making, potentially. Boom Boom Room Side B is coming soon, a new album. It's just absolutely their year. So we wanted to introduce you to Remington, Sebastian and Emerson and their amazing story written by our digital editor, Andy Biersack. So head to shop.rocksound.tv right now to pick up the Clockwork bundle featuring a limited edition cover, hand-signed poster by the whole band, an art print and giant wall poster designed by Emerson Barrett himself, or the Soldier bundle featuring a limited edition cover again, deluxe photo cards of each band member, premium screen printed patch, enamel pin badge and giant wall poster, or the Royal Council bundle, which includes all of those things, including both covers. If you're a member of the Royal Council or even just interested in a band that are about to go mega with a really fascinating, amazing story, who are totally, we mentioned Honesty earlier on, Black Veil Brides again. It's a really kind of like warts and all read, and it's really, really interesting. So, absolutely essential purchase. And all come with free worldwide shipping. Absolutely amazing. So no extra fees. All shipping is completely free. So get on it. These are selling fast. So check it all out. Let us know your favourite cover. Absolutely amazing stuff. Also includes a special 21 Pilots Pull Out photo magazine celebrating the blurry face era. Absolutely mega. And chats with Asking Alexandria tonight live. Marmoset. Some more reviews of Waterparks Entertainment. Fall Out Boys Mania. So much going on. Brilliant stuff. Spotify plays as well. An updated Rock Sound chart. Of course. Follow us on Spotify. Who's number one, Jack?
Waterparks with lucky people.
Yes, a Discuss TV show, brand new episode to fit in with our Palais Royale issue right now on Daily on Scuzz. Amazing. Interview 3, Parkway Drive. Oh God, right, breather. Winston McCall.
You did all that in one breath.
yeah. I started to lose it at one point, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to stop. And it was like, no. But yeah, Winston McCall, absolutely amazing stuff. So we're talking of anticipated albums in 2018. Parkway Drive, man, like, such a forward-thinking, one of the most forward-thinking, innovative, heavy bands in the music world. Have been for so long. They just celebrated 10 years of their absolute classic Horizons, and now they're getting ready to release album number 6. So exciting. One of 2018's most anticipated releases, and really, really mysterious as well. They're keeping all the cards to their chest. So, yeah, here we go. Here's the brilliant Winston McCall.
With Aya, I remember ahead of that album, you know, you were saying with Atlas that you kind of pushed the Parkway sound as kind of far as it could possibly go in a certain way. And then with Aya, you know, you took a lot of different risks and kind of pushed the Parkway sound into completely different ways. And it all came off really, really successfully. You know, songs like Writings on the Wall, and Vice Grip, and a Deathless song. So is that something you kind of want to continue with this album?
Straight into the deep end, huh? In one word, yes. But that being said, like, it's not like it definitely wasn't the thing where we did Ire and we're like, this is it. Like, this is our new sound. We're going to sound exactly like this from now on. Next record's going to sound exactly the same. It was more the kind of thing where Ire was a big like leap into the unknown when it came to challenging ourselves of writing in different ways, in different styles, and creating sounds that we wanted to represent us without stepping away from what we already were. So when it's come to writing new stuff, I think the wonderful thing from Aya has been simply the liberation and the gaining of confidence in ourselves in the fact of we put Aya out, we loved what we did, it got an amazing reaction, like far better than anything we could have hoped for. And then we get to continue creating and going, okay, we know what we're doing. We can work on stuff, and it doesn't have to be this constant thing of second guessing. It's simply knowing that if we put our passion into it and our conviction into it and our effort into it, that we can pull off these sounds that you wouldn't expect. So that's kind of where it's going.
Amazing. Very excited. I mean, yeah, on that kind of angle, like, I mean, you know, you did amazing shows on the IS cycle, you know, and you played a lot of these songs to huge reactions. You know, I saw both Brixtons, which were just absolutely insane. And I mean, like, in terms of that kind of kind of confidence that you were saying it gave you guys, like, did that give a real confidence as well going into the writing of this album, and that, you know, seeing, you know, all these huge reactions in front of you to these songs as well, and being able to do so much with the set because of them?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it was a massive just shift in the band dynamic, full stop. Because it's really weird to look back now at a pre-Ire period, simply because there was such a massive leap in such a short amount of time, in every sense of what we were as a band. It wasn't just like we're throwing 3 new songs into a set list this album, and then the set list that you've been playing for 5 years just evolves a little bit, and the shows kind of go on the same. Like, the visuals, the size of the shows, the reaction to the songs, and the amount of new material that was embraced by people it was far and above anything we'd done before. So yeah, it did, like, that gave us a massive confidence boost, simply in the sense of we never went about writing Ire in a way that was aimed at a different, I guess, result from anything we did in the past, which was simply write music that we like to listen to and we like to write. And in the past, it translated in the sense that it's what we like to write and create connected with people. And luckily, this time we did the same thing, and we're like, well, it's different, but hopefully, like, we still connect with it, so hopefully it's going to connect with other people. And to have it do that at that level was something where, like, you know what, we don't have to worry about this. We don't have to second guess ourselves. Like, we've been doing this for a long time now. We have an ear for what we like, and it's not an ear for necessarily something that I think is gonna flop. And I don't want to say, like, flop as in, like, commercially flop. I just mean as in not, like, come off as ingenuine, because I guess that's the thing. Like, everything we create is very, very personal for us, and we don't sit down and just go, bang, 40 minutes, like, here's a riff, whack it with a breakdown, it's out. Like, there we go, there's a record. Even when we're just doing metalcore songs, it takes us a long time to write this stuff. And now we just happen to be writing other stuff. But you do need the confidence to be able to go, okay, if I'm going to do this different sound, how am I going to put the conviction in it that is real? Because if it's not real, that's when you end up with something that people completely see through and it doesn't connect. So, yeah, that's where the confidence comes in. Amazing stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because well, in that sense as well, you know, something that was very striking about Ire was, you know, you were trying all these different things, you know, and it's a very, very eclectic album, but there was still that real kind of Parkway heaviness in there. You know, it felt like a tough as nails album still. Is that something that's always going to be? I know, you know, it's the same with Atlas before it and Deep Blue before that. You know, I mean, is that something that's always going to be a part of the Parkway sound? You know, are you guys always going to be keeping things, you know, heavy, essentially?
I can tell you that the stuff we have got is heavy. Like, that is a constant for us. That being said, like, I can't, like, the one thing that's come out of doing this, like, Ire into what we've been working on now has been the sense of, we all love doing what we're doing. And it's almost like stepping through an entire new door into a new chapter, which I see as being so much bigger and having so much more life to it than anything we've done before. So I could see us being a heavy band for as long as we can be a heavy band, and then when I'm 60 years old, being some fucking folk band or something, and it's still being Parkway. And by that point in time, we've released 10 albums, and people realise that we do whatever the hell we want, and it all just is representative of us. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. At this point in time, heaviness is definitely, like, for whatever direction we go in when it comes to influence or other sonics or anything like that, the heaviness is still what underpins it. That's definitely the thing. And whenever we write, we can't write any other way.
Oh man!
Really so,
Amazing! That's so exciting, man. I mean, so, like, as well, because kind of in that sense as well. I mean, it's something I ask quite a lot on the podcast. It's something I particularly wanted to ask you because I feel Parkway are a real beacon for this, and that, you know, it's kind of like, do you think it's really important to really keep pushing your sound and honing it and seeing what you can do with it and seeing how far you can push it with every album? Because, you know, we live in a very sort of saturated instant music world these days. So do you think it is really important to kind of uphold that and kind of really always want to keep exploring your own sound?
I think so. Well, like I can only speak from a personal standpoint, and the one thing that we've learnt that has been the massive big light bulb moment for us was getting to a point which we never ever thought we were going to get to, where we were like, you know, this thing that we've done and which we've honed, which we're afraid to step away from, it doesn't give us what we need as people. It doesn't give us what we need artistically. So what do? Do you then phone it in and out of fear of trying to push yourself, or do you step back into that unknown that you were in when you were starting a band? And I think as soon as you start trying to phone in anything, like fair enough, like some people only want to write one type of music and they will do that until the band dies, and more power to them if that's what they want. But as far as like heavy music goes for us, yeah, interesting things are variation. That's the thing. I love hearing different sounds and different moods and different elements, because humans are complicated things. Like we have very complicated psyches and very complicated consciences and very complicated outlooks on the world, and everyone's different. And the thing is, for us and for me, like writing and singing, everything is a representation of who I am. And to me to just go, I'm angry all the time, that's me. I've got to scream all the time. I've grown a hell of a lot since we started doing this band. So there's some things I can't get across simply by just going 100% scream. So you got to figure out another way to make that work. But at the same point in time, you got to we don't want to start a new band. We want to still be Parkway, and we still want to make music that represents the people in the band. It's just those people have grown as well. So yeah, I think people need to push it. You got to push it. And otherwise you stagnate as a person as well. And yeah, it's just boring. No one wants to live a boring life, surely.
No, it's certainly
in regards to every other instant music and all that stuff, yeah, I can 100%, that's when I do really think people need to be pushing it. Simply because I think the monetizing thing comes into people's mind. There's such a mindset that I think people can get into where something can blow up, and you don't even have to be recognized by a label or some big person in the music industry to explode as an artist and make apparently millions of dollars or whatever. You just got to have a song on YouTube that people download a bunch. So something happens and a sound happens, and then people jump onto that sound rather than thinking what's a different sound in front of that. People seem to like to be, I guess, following rather than leading. And as soon as you start following, you're literally just cutting the cookie out over and over again and just diluting. So I think it's better to try and find that next frontier, because that's what keeps it interesting for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, as well, talking of, keeping things, really interesting and kind of pushing how far you can go with stuff. I mean, lyrically as well, all Parkway albums have been super interesting, and especially with Aya, it was oh no, absolute pleasure. I mean, absolutely, it's a really dark album, but there was a real flicker of hope to it as well. I mean, in terms of this album, is this going to be on a similar note, or is this going to be something completely different, or kind of how far along are you with that side of things?
It's pretty damn different.
Okay.
To say, it's look, there's a lot of it's really hard to even kind of start processing at this point in time, because there's a lot that's actually going to have to be dealt with before this record comes out and explained to people, because there's a lot of stuff that happened with this band over the last couple of years that is a lot of very personal things have happened with the band, and that's flowed a lot into the music. And it's going to be a kind of record where there's things that you hear that you're like, whoa, that's Parkway sounding like the best Parkway I've ever heard. And there's Parkway sounding like I never thought they would sound like that before. And personally, I think it's great and it's completely liberating, but it's definitely not the same. For all the parts that you get the nostalgia hit, and you say that's the Parkway of old or whatever, there's there's a lot of layers in there which have never been kind of explored. So yeah.
Wow, man! I can't wait to hear it. I mean, kind of going into 2018, then, you know, a kind of logistical perspective. I mean, how far along are you with the album? Not to kind of press you too much, but like, is it kind of? Are we gonna are we gonna be hearing it sort of, you know, maybe first half of 2018, or is it something that we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for?
Oh, I'm just gonna say you're gonna have to wait to even get an announcement on those kind of things. So we'll keep you guessing at this point in time.
Very exciting.
It's coming along. It's coming along very, very well, and I'm super happy with everything that we've put into it thus far. And it's just one of those things where we don't like letting the cat out of the bag until every single nail is hammered down, and there's no way that we're going to go, oh, you know what, we're going to delay the album by a month. Someone fucked up, or damn, the cover art wasn't done, or something like that. So until all that stuff's nailed down, we don't tell anyone anything.
It's very understandable. Nah, man, it makes it even more exciting. And I mean, going into the new year as well, you know, will we be seeing a lot of you, do you reckon? Or again, is that something that it's going to be very much under wraps until we know?
You're going to see us. You're going to see us. Like, I think the download announcements are out, I think, isn't it? Yeah. So we've got that one, but there's other things. So there will be other things. Like, I can tell you the record's going to be out next year. So you know we're going to be back at some point in time for that. And we're there for download, and keep an eye out. There might be some other surprises and stuff. So we'll see how we go. Like, it's looking like a very busy year next year.
Amazing stuff. So, Tamsin, you excited?
I mean, it sounds like it's going to be like just brutal. Like, new stuff, just like sum up in one word, it's just like brutal or gnarly or some other Australian type word that means heavy. Yeah, I mean,
just was it also.
the live shows that they did, like last year. Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, and the year before.
God,
yeah.
What year are we in? Yeah, like they were ridiculous in themselves. Like, they put like stadium production into just like academy venues around the UK, and like everyone I've spoken to that went to those shows were just like, it was just kind of watching like a whole new band just like be the biggest and best thing they can possibly be, and it was just like mind blowing what they did. Yep. So to kind of like, I kind of see what he was saying about like doing that gave us such a confidence boost, because they like just smashed it, and they were like, yeah, you know what, he said they've had some troubles over the past year or so, some personal stuff going on, and despite all of that, they're still going into a new record, new material, like feeling really positive about it, knowing that it's going to be different, but just having that confidence to be like, Parkway Drive fans are still going to love it, it's still us, but just twisting things up a bit. And like, you know, that shows a band that like are confident in what they're doing and enjoy what they're doing still. So
yeah, I mean, that's what I've always loved about Parkway, like you say. I mean, I think they're a band that are very switched on as people, and it always feels like, even though they're very forward thinking and say, and very innovative, and they always want to try new things, they've always got that in their minds as well, and they always stay very true to what they've always been as well. And you know, like you say, I mean, I think while this album, a bit like Aya before it, is going to try a lot of new exciting things, I think it's going to be hard as nails as well. Jack?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting, because I'm an OG Parkway lad. Like, Killing With a Smile and Horizon is sort of the best metalcore that's ever come out of the genre. So I like it when they're like down and dirty, but it took me a while to really get my head around Aya. Like, it was a big culture shock for me, but the thing is, I understand what they were doing, even though it wasn't immediate to me. Like, the fact that their scope is so much further than just Circle Pits is something to be applauded. And I just love how Winston, like he said, it's when people hear it, they're going to say, this is the best Parkway we've ever heard, but it's also Parkway that you've never heard before. Like, it's going to be every element of what's made them such a force within heavy music. And also just the fact that he said, you know, like, just because it's like riffs and breakdowns and stuff, it still takes a long time. Like, it's not like they're doing cookie cutter, like, everything. They're just trying to get someone to windmill. Like,
riffs are an intricate art.
Yeah, they are. I mean, like, I can't play them. But like, to to show that even when they're doing something which people think is very bog standard, it's actually they're pushing that boundary as well of what people perceive metalcore to be. It's really fascinating, and I mean, they are a band who, like, you always think of it, the bands which come to people's minds when think of heavy music, and they are one of those. Like, I think sometimes you don't realise how big they are and how much of an influence they've had on the scene over the past, like, 13 years. And for them to still go in and still pushing themselves and still trying out these new things and trying to, like, redefine what their name is it's just something, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, like Tamsin was saying as well about the shows. I mean, I think the Brixton show last year was probably my show of the year last year, and the fact that that's about to be condensed into a record is, or has already been condensed to a record, is very, very exciting. And like you say, Jack, I mean, like it's writing riffs, and like Winston said, it's so intricate and interesting what they do. It's not just, like you say, just to get people to windmill. And I think that leaves so many doors that can be open what they can do, and they've already kind of tried out exotic instruments and that sort of thing, and to kind of see them push that even further on this new record is one of the most exciting things that this year's going to produce, I think. So
yeah, it's this full scope of, like, fans, because, like, on Aya there was moments of that which, like, your dad who grew up on Maiden and ZZ Top and, like, Aerosmith could get down to. Like, I remember playing my dad, like, Early Bring Me, and him saying, "This is nonsense." Like, you're what you on about? But, like, the fact that they've got that scope, and, like, they are trying those new things and trying to bridge the audience even further. Like, Askin did it with From Death to Destiny, like, where metalcore and post-hardcore kids turned their back, like, classic rock fans came into the fold, and it just grew the name even further.
They did it so well.
Yeah, and I feel as though it's when bands are experimenting in this way, but doing it with the care and consideration, not just going, let's just throw that in just because, like, we've been listening to, I don't know, Pearl Jam or something. Like, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, man, I've just realised we're getting Bring Me Architects and Parkway Records this year. That's so exciting.
It's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
It's going to be a ridiculous year for music.
Like, so good.
That trio, man. Like, 3 bands who started from the bottom of the bog standard and have just become world beaters with their own unique sound and, like, unique characteristics. It's mad.
That is, like, mad.
It's mad. A shout out Breakdowns as well.
I knew it was coming. Yeah, huge shout out to Winston. We'll definitely get him back on the podcast when we hear music. But yeah, so exciting. Huge shout out to him. Awesome stuff. So, of course, brand new issue, Palais Royale, the most exciting band of 2018. First ever magazine cover is on sale now. Shop.rocksound.tv. So much going on with it. You can head there right now, shop.rocksound.tv, pick up the Clockwork bundle featuring a limited edition cover, hand-signed poster by the whole band, and an art print and giant wall poster designed by Emerson Barrett himself, or the Soldier bundle featuring a limited edition cover, deluxe photo cards of each band member, a premium screen printed patch, enamel pin badge, and a giant wall poster, or the big insane bundle, the Royal Council bundle, which includes all of those things, including both covers. If you're a member of the Royal Council, that is an essential purchase, and all come with free worldwide shipping. So yeah, it's been an amazing way to start 2018. Been a little bit rusty, but
kick off 2018.
Yeah,
it's gonna be all right, isn't it?
We will see you guys next week, and yeah,
love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.